Mike Trout has a torn meniscus and will undergo knee surgery. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 and welcome to May. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers. And the unfortunate news, Mike Trout was diagnosed with a torn meniscus and will undergo knee surgery. No official timetable, but not expected to miss the rest of the season. Obviously, this sucks. Trout was off to a great start, 10 homers, 6 steals. Chris, I know that you have looked into some of the timelines with an injury like this. What is your best guess as to how much time Mike Trout will miss?
It's really hard to guess because it depends on what kind of surgery he has. There are really, really wide ranges of outcomes when you're talking about meniscus surgery, from getting the meniscus removed, in which case you could return in 2 weeks. I think that's exceedingly unlikely. To the long end, you could have the meniscus completely repaired and potentially miss the rest of the season. Given the way they've talked about it, where it doesn't sound like his season's over, I would guess it's going to fall somewhere in the middle, more along like you see a lot of 6-week returns from meniscus if they have what's called a meniscectomy, where you have the damaged part of the meniscus shaved off or removed. I don't know if that's what he's going to have happen, but that could make like a 6-week timetable, which would be obviously, I think, pretty close to a best case scenario here. So that's what we'll hope for, but we won't know for sure until he has the surgery, I guess.
Let's get into some Mike Trout replacements. And in shallower leagues, there are some of the names you could look at. Jerks and Profar continues to hit well. Brian De La Cruz, Mark Canha, perhaps in a points league. Wilyer Abreu had a big game on Tuesday, 3 for 4 with a double, a triple, a run, and an RBI. And Andy Pages, who was recently called up by the Dodgers. Chris, who are your 3 favorites from this group? Profar, De La Cruz, Canha, Abreu, and Pages.
For me, I think Pages is clearly the top option, just because I'm going to be looking for upside when I'm trying to replace Mike Trout. And he's a very interesting young player who the Dodgers like a lot. He's played basically every day since he got called up. There's a little bit of speed potential there, but potentially big power in a very good lineup. So Pages is at the top. After that, I could kind of do a Wilyer Abreu and Roto, Mark Canha and points cop out. I'm really not that interested in Profar.
Okay. I really like Abreu. The problem for next week is it looks like there are 5 games on the schedule and 3 lefties. So yeah, there's a chance Abreu only plays 2 games next week, which obviously is a problem. Some names that could be out there in 5 outfielder leagues: Joey Loperfido, recently called up by the Astros; Joe Adell; Luis Rengifo, who now has 9 steals on the season; Brenton Doyle, and Jordan Beck, who was just called up by the Rockies. Chris, who are your 3 favorites from that group?
I would actually say I think I like this group on the whole more than the one before because, as I said, I'm looking for upside. I think Joey Loperfido, Jordan Beck, and Joe Adell, probably Loperfido, Adell, and Beck in that order would be how I would rank them. And I think there's pretty significant upside with all of them, whereas Rengifo, really valuable because he's got quadruple eligibility, potentially sextuple eligibility if you play in a roto league because of the more middle infield and corner infield. But he's mostly just a stolen bases and maybe runs guy. So yeah, the 3 younger, less proven guys are my top ones.
And then some names in deeper leagues. You could look at Jacob Young for speed. There's Mike Tauchman, Tommy Pham, and Wensil Perez, who had a big game on Tuesday. Game 2 of the Tigers doubleheader. He went 3 for 4 with a double dong. Chris, any interest there in deeper leagues? Jacob Young, Tauchman, Pham, and Perez.
Yeah, I think Young is strictly a speed specialist, but the Nationals are letting him run wild right now. 12 stolen bases so far this season. So if you specifically need that, he's worth looking at. But I would prioritize Tommy Pham and Wensil Perez ahead of him either way. Pham, 16 homers, 22 RBI, and 481 plate appearances last season. He's hit in the top 4 of the White Sox lineup in all 4 games that he's played in so far. So should get a lot of opportunities, whatever that lineup can provide. And then Perez, a little bit of pop, a little more speed is the way I would describe him. But, there are some interesting minor league numbers. He's a bit of a late bloomer as a prospect, but he has been hitting towards the top of the Tigers lineup more often than not lately. So that's interesting as well. So Pham and Perez are the top two for me.
Yes, and with Tommy Pham, he's only 9% rostered and looks like he has 7 games on the schedule for next week. So I am solely on board there with Tommy Pham as well. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.